Hello everyone, Cindy here with Monarch Mom DIY. Thank you so much for joining me today on my channel where I love to bring you my best tips and tools to inspire you to create beautiful home decor on a budget. I did put a poll on my community tab on my YouTube channel, and fall DIYs and Christmas in July were neck and neck. I do have for you 6 fall DIYs today. Most of these you can make using items that are usually available at Walmart, Dollar Tree, other craft stores. So I hope that you're inspired to do some fall crafting of your own. With all that being said, let's get crafting. For today's first DIY, we're going to make this fall shiplap tray sign using one of these rectangular trays from Dollar Tree. They're pretty much always available. These giant craft sticks from Walmart and these wood sticker words from Hobby Lobby. I'm also going to be using some seasonal wood cutout shapes from my Magnolia website, but you can use whatever shapes, wood that you would like to put in here, or even using some scrapbook paper to decorate. So the first thing I'm doing is I measured the bottom part of the tray. I did also spray the shiny gold tray with some matte black, and I'm just cutting pieces of these giant craft sticks until I get enough to cover the entire bottom of my tray. Next, taking my ivory Waverly chalk paint and a chippy brush, I'm adding some distressing to the black spray paint on my tray. This, of course, is optional, as is the color that I chose to use. So feel free to take this idea and modify it for your color scheme that you enjoy. Next, I'm taking those pieces of the giant craft sticks that I cut. You can see I have one there that had to be a little skinnier to fit. And I'm going to stick them to a piece of painter's tape, flip that over, and then put 2 pieces down on the ends to hold my painter's tape in place. This just makes it a lot easier to paint small things without having to hold on to them. So I'm going to use my antique wax and the baby wipe method to give all these craft stick pieces a nice dark stained look. Once those are dry, I'm going to come back in with my hot glue gun and putting hot glue on the back. I'm going to lay my antique wax stained pieces down now in the bottom of our tray. I've done versions of this project a few times and I'm always so pleased with how it turns out. You can change up the colors, you can change up what you do with the craft stick pieces, and you can change up what you put inside. You can change whether it stands vertically or horizontally. So I really love this project, and these trays are pretty much always available at my Dollar Tree. If your Walmart doesn't have these big craft sticks, you can definitely use the skinnier ones that you can find at Dollar Tree in the Crafter's Square. Now I'm choosing to use these fall wood shapes from my Magnolia Design Co. website, monarchmomdiy.com. If you want, you can always use the Dollar Tree wood ornament cutouts, especially if you're watching this when fall items are already available in your Dollar Tree. But I'm just giving the very bright painted colors a kind of a whitewash, again, with that ivory paint and the chippy brush, just kind of covering them. You can still see what color the shape is. I'm going to do this painting, and then once it's dry, I am going to sand them lightly. Now, while those are drying, I'm going to take this wood sticker from Hobby Lobby. It says thankful, and I'm just going to color it in with a black Sharpie marker. I chose black because the base color of the tray is black, and I thought that would help bring out that black a little bit more. Like I said, now that my paint on these shapes is dry, I am just taking a pretty fine grit sandpaper. I believe this is 400, just smoothing out that paint job, bringing out the color of the base shape a little bit more, and then placing these where they're going to go on the tray. And I'm going to place that wood sticker word right there on the leaf, right in the middle. It's sticky enough that I can just press it on there and it'll stay just fine. I wanted to add a little bit more of the brown around the outer edges of my tray, so I'm going to use my Distress ink in walnut stain with my little sponge just to add that to the very outside of my tray, kind of bring that color from the center to the outside edge. Then once that's done, our final step will be just to add some hot glue to the back of each of our 3 shapes and press them down onto our tray. Now, I'm keeping this pretty simple, but you could definitely add like a bow, some florals and leaves around maybe like the top left corner, but I just chose to keep this pretty simple with just the word thankful and the 3 colored shapes in the middle. Let me know what you would do different if you made this project. If you're stopping by my channel for the first time, welcome. I'm so glad that you found me. I hope that you like what you see and you'll consider sticking around by hitting that subscribe button. Also, everyone should tap that bell. Just check to make sure that your notifications are set to all, so YouTube should let you know when I upload a new video or go live here on my channel. For DIY number 2, I'm going to take this bottle and repurpose this alcohol bottle into a pumpkin. I love the shape of this bottle. I think it's Crown Royal. And anyway, I got a bunch of glass bottles really cheap, and I love all the different shapes. I am first of all just going to take this and I'm going to give it 2 good coats of my Waverly chalk paint in the color pumpkin. I will say I did not do Mod Podge on top of the glass before painting, so you're definitely going to want to make sure the paint is pretty thick and let it dry completely before you do a second coat. If you try to do a second coat too soon, it'll just pull up the paint you did first. So a couple good coats of pumpkin Waverly chalk paint and let it dry completely after each coat. Once my second coat was dry, I decided it was just a little bit too bright of an orange for me. So I'm taking my antique wax and a baby wipe and just kind of trying to antique my paint job here a little bit. Again, of course, this is an optional step. You can just keep it the plain paint color if you'd like, but I really like how the antique wax kind of brings out the design in the bottle as well. Once that's dry, I'm going to take my hot glue gun and this thicker jute twine from Walmart, and I'm going to glue it around the neck of the bottle. I'm kind of going up from the center because there's a little bit of a ledge there, and I'm going to go up to the top, and then I'm going to come back down the neck of the bottle until I get to the wider part of the bottle. Next, I'm just going to take a few little green leaves from my fall leaf collection and just add them, gluing them down gently in a couple spots to the top of our pumpkin. Now you can definitely leave your pumpkin like this, but I decided I wanted to make just a small messy bow. So I'm going to use this bright green burlap ribbon from Dollar Tree, as well as this thinner one from Hobby Lobby to make a messy bow. So we're going to cut 2 pieces of each of the ribbons, and then we're going to cut a dovetail in them and then tie them together in the center with jute twine for our messy bow. I decided that the green burlap ribbon was just a little wider than I wanted, so I am cutting off the wire edge from each of those. It is going to fray just a little bit, but just pull out a string or two and you'll be good to go. So like I said, to make our messy bow here, we're going to crisscross left, right, and then take a piece of jute twine across the middle, flip it over, and then as we tie the knot, we're going to kind of scrunch the middle of the ribbons together to make our messy bow. You can always undo and adjust. You can see I've got a little bit too much at the bottom. It's not perfectly even, but you can adjust it before you get it how you want it and then tighten it up. Once I have my messy bow how I wanted it, I'm just going to put a little bit of hot glue there on the back and then glue it up here on the neck of the pumpkin. I decided that it was covering up the leaves that I had there, so I am going to add a couple more leaves. But before I do that, I'm just going to add a little black button to the center of my bow. So here are a couple more leaves. I'm going to add them, one kind of behind the bow so you can see it, and then one down here at the bottom towards the front. And here's my repurposed bottle pumpkin. What do you guys think? I love that I could use something that I had in my stash that you can easily find other places. For DIY number 3, we're going to make a fall crate centerpiece using 4 of these wood crates from Dollar Tree, some fall florals and floral foam from Dollar Tree, and some of these little pumpkin clips that I had left over in my stash from last year. I'm sure they'll be around again this year. So to start out with, I'm taking my wood glue from Dollar Tree and I'm going to glue these 4 crates together end to end to make one larger piece. Once those are dry, I'm going to take my antique wax and my baby wipe method again, and I'm going to antique wax these on both of the long sides, trying to get in there as well with those little cracks. And I'm going to do the 2 shorter sides as well as the edge around the top. Next, I'm going to take 2 of these bricks of floral foam from Dollar Tree and I'm going to cut them in half. They are going to be a little tall, so I'm going to have to cut a little bit off of the bottom layer. And then I'm going to end up with 4 pieces of this that I can hot glue 1 into the bottom of each of my crates. So now that I have my pieces cut, I'm going to put a little hot glue in the bottom of the crate and press that piece of floral foam down. So the rest of this project is basically going through my fall florals, cutting individual pieces, and just arranging them however I can to fill up this centerpiece. Sometimes the pieces I cut a little smaller and poke them in kind of from the side to cover up any of the foam. If you want to, you could definitely use some floral moss to cover over the floral foam before you start poking in the flowers. I did not do that this time, but it is definitely an option. I went more with the smaller fall florals this time rather than the large mums and sunflowers. So you can see I used quite a variety here. I have leaves in there. And then my last thing I'm going to do is take 5 of these white pumpkins with the little clips. And I'm just finding a little place that I can set them into this centerpiece. And I love this. I had lots of little random pieces of flowers that were in my floral drawer that I was able to use for this centerpiece. And I really do love how this turned out. I love that if you have a larger table, you could definitely use more crates. If you have a small space, you could use less. If you love budget home decor DIY videos like this, I hope you'll consider giving this video a thumbs up and leaving a comment or 2, as that lets YouTube know people are watching and enjoying my content, and then they'll show it to more and more viewers. DIY number 4 is a simple frame fall sign using one of these 4x4 frames from Dollar Tree. I'm using a printable I found, but you could definitely use scrapbook paper, and this Welcome Fall wood word piece from Dollar Tree. These are usually available in the fall. Otherwise, they do have something similar at Hobby Lobby. So I didn't really care for the finish on this frame, but this was the only one that they had. So I am going to go ahead and cover over this with my ivory chalk paint, just getting all that gray and the shiny gold edging on the sides and on the front all painted over. I believe I did do 2 coats just to make sure that it was covered completely. So once that was dry, I decided to do a layer of Mod Podge over the paint because this was a plastic picture frame, so I wanted to just make sure that the paint wasn't going to scratch off. So I'm just, like I said, doing one thin layer of Mod Podge over my paint. Next, I'm taking the glass from the frame and I'm finding the piece of my patterned rice paper here. I will put the link to this Etsy listing in the description of the video. I will be using another piece from this same collection in a DIY later on in the video. You can see my color ink was running out there, so I was glad I was able to find a square to be able to use for the background. Now, you don't have to use rice paper that you print. You could definitely go to Hobby Lobby, get a couple sheets of some fall scrapbook paper. They have them all the time. Now you could just put your piece of paper behind the glass. I did not want the shininess of the glass, so instead I'm going to use the glass as kind of a background for the paper. I'm going to spread some Mod Podge on the front of the glass, getting it as smooth and thin as possible. I have a little too much on here, so I will take a paper towel and get some off. But once I get my Mod Podge pretty smooth and thin, I'm just going to spritz a little bit of water on the back of my paper and Mod Podge it to the front of the glass. You could add whatever you want to the front of your little sign here. I decided to use this Welcome Fall from Dollar Tree. These are usually around in the fall crafting supplies, but you could definitely use stickers from Hobby Lobby or a craft store. You could use another one of the seasonal wood shapes, whatever you would like to finish off this sign. I'm just using the baby wipe and some antique wax. You can see I'm going to go a little bit more here because I wanted a little bit darker to stand out from that leaf background. So now I'm just going to put everything back into the frame, the glass with the paper on it, and the little backing with the easel, and clip that in. Here's what we have, and then I'm going to glue the Welcome Fall across the front of the frame. Now I could have stopped here and kept that frame nice and pristine, but I decided to take my Distress ink in Vintage Photo just to add a little bit of the lighter brown in there. Of course, this is optional. If you want to, you don't have to. You could do this same effect with a little bit more antique wax going around the frame as well. And here's my finished project. I love that you could make this same project so many different ways using different colors of paint and different scrapbook paper. For DIY number 5, I'm going to take this woven plate that I got at a thrift store. I'm going to use this wood circle from Walmart and another piece of that printable paper and some nautical rope from Dollar Tree to make this a really pretty fall decor piece. The first thing I'm going to do is apply Mod Podge all over the front of my wood circle, and then we're going to let that dry completely. Once that Mod Podge is dry, I'm going to take my piece of decorative paper here and place it where I want it on the circle, and then putting parchment paper over it, I'm going to iron the decorative paper onto the Mod Podge on the wood circle. So the heat is going to reactivate the Mod Podge, making it sticky again, and it's going to grab on to that paper. Once that paper is cooled off, I'm going to take my sander and in a downward motion, I'm going to remove the excess paper, getting a nice clean edge all the way around my wood circle. Next, I'm going to put some hot glue right around the outer edge of my wood circle, and we're going to attach this down to the center of our woven plate placemat. Not sure exactly what this is, but I think it's like a charger plate, but a woven version. So we're just going to go around with our hot glue and then center the wood circle in the center of the plate. I did decide to go ahead and run a bead of hot glue around the outer edge of the wood circle as well, just making sure that it was attached down to the woven charger plate. Then I decided I'm going to add a little bit of nautical rope just for another texture in here, a slightly different color, and I'm going to go around the outer edge of that inset part of the plate, and then I'm going to do a second row right next to it. I decided I wanted to add a word to the sign here, so I'm taking one of my smaller Magnolia stencils that says give thanks, and I'm just going to apply this to the front of my sign with glittering copper chalk paste. And here's my finished project. I love when I can take a resale store find and turn it into a beautiful piece of decoration. If you are not already following me also over on Facebook, I encourage you to go over there and find my page, Monarch Mom DIY. I do different lives and projects on my Facebook page than I do here on YouTube, so you get twice as much DIY content. For today's last DIY, we're going to make a variation on the wall tile pumpkin using one of these wall tiles from Dollar Tree, one of these wood pumpkins, the Blessed Grateful Words, which I believe they're like a leather material, also from Dollar Tree, burlap flowers from Dollar Tree, and some leaves. So if your store doesn't have fall decor out yet, just wait. They will have a version of this pumpkin. I'm actually going to glue a couple of these together and make them a little more substantial, and I'm going to put wood glue, and then we're going to clamp around them to make sure they get dried nice and flat. While our pumpkins are drying, I'm going to take my same ivory Waverly chalk paint that I've been using throughout this video, and I'm going to paint most of the wall tile. Pretty much going to go side to side all the way and then work on the middle. I just want enough that it's going to cover my pumpkin. Next, I'm going to put my pumpkin on the back side of my tile and trace around it. Then I'm going to cut that out to match the shape of the pumpkin, and then we'll be able to adhere it down to the front of our pumpkin. So taking my hot glue, I'm going to loosely go around the outer edge of my pumpkin and put some in the middle, and then very carefully pat this down. You don't want to burn yourself. You will feel that hot glue through the plastic tile, so just be careful and make sure that is down. Now I wanted to add some color to my pumpkin, so I'm going to take this moss green and this foam brush, and just going lightly, it's really going to make that design on the tile really stand out. I love this. And once I get it where the design is all, what is that called, in relief? I think so, where it kind of stands out. I'm going to go over it a little bit harder in some places to get some brush strokes of the green on the flat parts of the pumpkin. But this is one of those things that you can either just leave it the solid color, you can do whatever color you'd like for this relief part to make the details really pop out. To add a little more texture and interest to this, I'm going to go around the outer edge of my pumpkin with a bead of hot glue and then pat down this thicker jute twine from Walmart. Once I got all the way around back to the stem, I'm going to start gluing the jute twine there at the base of the stem, and I'm going to wrap it around all the way going up to the top, leaving some spaces, and then I'm going to attach it with some hot glue there right on the end so that it doesn't slip off the edge. And then coming back around, we will fill in where any of those holes are. Now you could stop at any point in this project. I've decided I'm going to add one of these faux leather words that says blessed right in the middle. I also wanted to use a couple of these burlap flowers from Dollar Tree that I've had in my stash for a while. So I'm just going to put one on either side of the word blessed. And then I'm just going to add a few faux leaves up at the top by the stem. And here's my finished wall tile pumpkin. Again, what I love about all 6 of these projects is you can take them and modify them with any type of color and decor to match your style. Thanks again so much for joining me today. I'd love to know which of these projects was your favorite, maybe which one you'll consider trying to make on your own first. And as always, thanks so much for being here, and we'll see you next time. Take care.